welcome. I'm just going to bring up the chat here. I don't know how this is going to work. This is my first YouTube live, and I am committing to go live more often. It seems like everywhere I turn over the past month, it's just more video, like do more video, and I get it. Like that's what I mean, I consume a lot of information, and video is obviously one of those that I consume. Video, reading, written, love to read written and paper, but articles online and everything. So, but I know video is a thing. But there's a reason why Dr. Holly or myself do not do video frequently, and that is because we are deep introverts. So if you're not familiar, that means that you gain energy by being alone. And for me, it's a fine line that I have learned to intuit and be tuned in to when I have too much alone time. But for me, it's just, there are very few days in a month or a week or something like that where I feel on, if that makes sense. And as a speaker, as a performer, as a content creator, as a teacher, it's always been really important to me to have, when I'm connecting with my people, I want to bring a certain level of energy and high vibes, but I want to also create a really authentic relationship with everyone in our community. And that's going to be starting by me showing up and letting you guys in a little bit more on who we are, what we're doing, why we do it, and guiding you through your personal development journey. Now, the title of this live was, inner turbulence and committing to the process. The reason why, actually, let's see if I can turn that. I've got a microphone here. Maybe it's not on. I wonder if, I don't know. I hope that was, I don't know. I hope you guys could hear audio. But inner turbulence and committing to the process. So I have been down with the flu for a little over a week. And, this was a rough go at having the flu. I've obviously had the flu many times in my life. My fiance, he rarely ever gets sick. And I think if he has been sick significantly, it's been, you could count that on one hand. I'm not that way. And my kids were sick, I was sick, but it really caused me to slow down. So I actually got sick the day that I was traveling for ACVC, Atlantic Coast Veterinary Conference, and I was speaking one day. I had to take so many medications to get through the day. I was fighting, just so many symptoms of the flu that just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I did my best to be responsible and stay away from people and wear a mask and all sorts of things that, would limit me spreading the virus. But beyond that, I had another speaking engagement the following Monday, and obviously showed up, did my best. My best looked different those 2 days. My voice was different. Neurons were not firing as quickly, but I think I did a good job to serve my people as best as I could. But I recognized that it was different. It was, not my best performance of all time. It wasn't anything that I was going to videotape and say, hey, let's put this on the website, because it just wasn't that, wasn't kind of that kind of performance. But in between those times of really forcing my body to do a job that I needed to do. And in the clinic, I've been there, right? You're working a 12-hour shift. You can't call out. Obviously, when you get sick, you might be allotted like 1 or 2 sick days, and that might be like policy, but it also just might be what makes sense for you financially or for your team, right? But we know that when you're sick, you don't just get sick usually for 1 or 2 days. I mean, a minor head cold, sinus infection, possibly you might have a height where it's like today's the worst day. If you have other issues, you might have a 1 or 2 bad days. But if you have the flu, you are going to have more than 1 or 2 days where you're just down. I mean, the symptoms that I felt this week were so significant. Both of my kids were out of school for over a week. I was down for over a week. I had to cancel certain meetings. Certain meetings canceled for me, and I was like, oh, thank gosh. And when that happened, it like kind of gave me the permission. It just reminded me of how much a canceled meeting just benefits someone. Everyone that I talk to is always so hesitant to cancel a meeting, but it, no one's ever mad, like overly mad when a meeting gets canceled. If anything, it just frees up their schedule. So people are busy. They want to have, little gaps that just pop up. So it's cool. But what's happened in all of this is it's forced me to slow down, and it created a lot of space for me to get really introspective. Once again, this is something that I do on purpose all of the time. I am very committed to my personal development, my personal growth, the introspective journey, and I come at it from a multitude of ways. If you know me and know a little bit about my story, I blend Western and Eastern modalities and practices in a number of different areas, science and spirituality and psychology and things like that, to really not just understand, but navigate and manage who I am in a intentional way to create a, an evolutionary process for myself that is serving who I am and who I am becoming. So I hope that makes sense to you guys. But early on in my life, it was I had no idea what I was doing. I was very aimless, and the approach that I was taking, because that's what people knew back then, was not working. And so I had to, what felt like, go under the crust of the earth in order to discover a lot of these strategies that are very, very effective in managing your psychological fitness, your psycho-emotional health, your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, your physical health, and all of these things that are connected, that oftentimes in our society are approached with a very fragmented sense of reality. And so, you have these, I'm not going to go too far down that rabbit hole, but you have these random symptoms that are treated individually, but when you have a holistic approach and understanding that we are whole beings, that these things get connected. And there's often, root causes that are causing these things. But the internal turbulence that we feel before you find any sort of, like, maybe you're early on in your personal development journey. Maybe you're somewhere in the middle, or maybe you're, we'll say, intermediate. And then we've got like advanced and really advanced, but I want people to know that even like your mentor has a mentor. So even the people who you look up to and who you model and who you study and who there are people who they are learning from. Most of the people on this path are students and teachers. We are lifelong learners. And if you, much like other entrepreneurs, if you're in this space as a professional, you've come to this space of well-being because of your own experience. Like with us, we're solving our own challenges, and therefore we're recognizing that other people have those challenges, and we're sharing that with them. So we're solving this problem for other people as well. And we're blending all of this experience that we have as veterinary professionals, as humans, into a package that people can really easily digest, because it's important to me and to Dr. Holly that people have a fast track, that people, while yes, it is a process that has to be, you have to go with the process. There is an unfolding that happens, and you can't just get to like the level 10 without doing steps 1 through 9. Like that is a process. But knowing what the blueprint is, knowing how to create your own roadmap, because it's very personal, it's very customized. That I think is a huge misnomer in our culture today, is that, well-being, mental health, anything, this personal journey is like this blanket, like, well, all these strategies will work for everyone. Absolutely not. It's not going to work for everyone. It's not going to work at this time. Like, and that's part of the beginning part of the journey is where is your level of awareness? Where is your level of awareness to recognize that you do have a sense of internal turbulence, that things are out of alignment, and that it's this multimodal approach that has to happen in order to find alignment, or rather create alignment. So recognizing where you are is a skill, it's an art and a science in and of itself. And having this awareness, because it's a moving target. It's a moving target that is developing just as you develop. But without that awareness, it's very difficult to commit to the process. And I want people to know that this process of personal development, of growth, of self-care, of intentional evolution, whatever you want to frame it as, you have to commit. Because without a level of commitment to the process, if you are trying to not just understand the blueprint and get on that fast track, but if you are trying to skip steps, if you are trying to get into something and you don't have a support system, if you don't have certain things built up in your life, like there are tools that I'm going to equate it to like doing a project in your house. There are tools that are going to help you with a small arts and crafts project, right? If your guy brings you a table saw and you're doing an arts and crafts project with a toddler, like that's not going to work, right? That tool is not applicable to the job that you're doing, and vice versa. If he's working on the garage or, building out the trailer or something, and I bring him googly eyes and, Elmer's glue, that's not going to work. So recognizing where you are, what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and then knowing what tools are available and what you have access to and what you have the skills to use. I am not super skilled at utilizing a table saw. Can I learn how to do that? Absolutely. That's the beauty of everything that we're doing. The skills that we're teaching are completely learnable. As adults, you're able to learn those skills. And you have to, know where you're at to know which tools to use and which ones are maybe not for you, or maybe not for you right now. Okay. So I'm actually going to discourage people from doing certain exercises if you get to a point where it's overwhelming, it's uncomfortable, and if you don't have a level of self-reliance and you don't have a support system, you can really stir some shit up that causes more problems for you. If you are not equipped to handle what happens, like I was just, I came up to the office and I do what I do sometimes. I pick a book. Certain books are better than others, but you pick a book, you open it up, and you just read, 10 pages or something like that. And I picked Matthew McConaughey's Green Lights up and read some pages, was crying. That's where I was at earlier. My emotions right now are really like at the surface level. But he wrote right here, you guys, that I came here alone to write. Draw blood. I knew blood would be drawn. It was. My heart pumped more through my veins than ever before. Day 4 of writing Green Lights. This stuff that we're doing is not like sunshine and rainbows. Yes, the work that we do will provide you with a certain level of personal freedom that you've never experienced before. Absolutely. If you know me, you know what I wanted to say right there. Absolutely. But it's hard work, and you are going to experience less emotional turbulence, less inner turbulence by doing this work. But at times, you're going to get into some stuff, and it's going to be uncomfortable. But learning how to get comfortable with who you are, it is sometimes an uncomfortable process. And learning how to feel life, that is something that most adults have no idea how to do. So you have to learn these skills of how to safely and effectively feel life, metabolize life. As humans, we have a whole range of emotional experiences. Here's another really great book. Brene Brown's newest book, Atlas of the Heart. This is a fabulous book to help you get the skill set around understanding and communicating, articulating what you're feeling more accurately. If you've never looked at the wheel of emotions, most people are operating on like 5 emotions. I'm happy, sad, I'm, angry, something like that, and then a couple others, right? Like most people, that's how they describe it. Your kids describe it that way, most adults, because again, we were just raised by people trying to do their best at what they had. But nowadays, we're having, a ton more resources that allow us, especially if you're committed, to get better at being better humans, at being human beings with ourselves. When you are alone, COVID forced us to be alone for, over 2 years. I think that was a beautiful thing for a lot of people. If you took the opportunity that it created to really recheck, recalibrate who you are, what your core values are, what you stand for, what those North Stars are that guide your life. And I think a lot of people benefited from that. Obviously, it was not without its tragedies, but knowing that there's a process that you have to commit to, that you've got to do the steps, you've got to do the work, you have to understand that there's more to it than just getting on a fast track and just being happy forever without certain things built out. Okay, it's not about that. It is a process. You need to commit to it. You need to understand that, we don't know what we don't know. And you might not know that certain things exist, but if there are things that exist, have the courage to utilize those things, reach out to other people. If you're early on this journey, or if you're intermediate and you're not sure, ask. Myself, Dr. Holly, our team is so accessible. Like, there are not layers and layers of people between you and I. So reach out, ask, talk to the people who you feel confident in talking to, safe and secure, not just people who are going to be like low level, and not just people who are just an ear and there's no creative or constructive solutions that happen by talking to them and talking through these things. Talk to people who are either naturally skilled at this or who are formally trained in some way. Life coaches, counselors, mental health professionals, there's tons of them. Psychologists, psychiatrists, there's lots of different people, business coaches. There's so many different people that can help you, okay? But you just have to be willing to talk to other people and, get on this commitment bandwagon, because without it, you might get into the weeds and you might get into a point where, if you're practicing mindfulness, if you're practicing some of these introspective strategies, if you're doing certain exercises and you have thought-provoking questions that strike a chord, it very well, and you're not equipped to deal with the emotional overload of that, like it could be rough. And I want people to know that it is worth it to do all of those things that I just mentioned, but you've got to be prepared for it, and we want to help prepare you in that. So I just want to leave you guys with that, and thank you for being part of our community. I really believe in you, and I believe in your ability to experience the extraordinary things in life, experience a higher level of well-being, a higher quality of life. I absolutely, applaud you for being part of the community, of being on this journey, no matter where you're at on the pathway. And even if you've dipped your toes in, stepped back, and now you're coming back to it, that's okay. That's a smart thing to do. If you're like, oh, I'm not ready to deal with it, I need different tools or something like that, then I got to come back to it. That's cool. Again, it's a process. Allow that process to happen. We've got a lot of time. We don't have a lot of time on this earth. It's, there's different ways to think about that. So just recognize that it's okay. Like, give yourself acceptance around wherever you're at. Know that. And that's all I wanted to leave you guys with today. Like I said, I hope to be live more often. I'm committing to that. And we are trying to grow our presence on YouTube. And some days you're going to have Baby G with me, and some days maybe not. But I just, I'm really glad that you guys are here, and I will talk to you guys another day.